Hello, hello, hello. My name is Moon, and I am so excited to be here with you today. I am the developer of the Shuffle TTRPG system and the head writer of the 12 Mystic Seas setting, which is to be used with the Shuffle system. I am also the GM for the Shuffle podcast, both campaigns. I run the game. I wrote the game. I kind of live the game. Here with me, I have one of my very best friends in the whole wide world. Jaiden Weed, if you could introduce yourself, even though I kind of just did.
Yes. Oh, you already did. But hello. My name is Jaiden Weed. I am the resident note taker of the Shuffle sessions.
Oh, absolutely.
I have multiple notebooks of just writing down things from the past year or so that I've been involved in Shuffle.
Yep.
And that's why I have been gracefully chosen to help run this lore episode.
This is a somewhat brief overview of the entirety of the 12 Mystic Seas. This episode will not be necessary if you are getting into either of the campaigns we produce. This is more of a overall, if you want to know kind of the wider machinations of what the entire world is outside of the campaigns our characters are experiencing. Shuffle as a system has not been released. It is still in playtest, and we would love if you would want to run your own games. So this is kind of a short introduction if you are interested in that, or just want to know, the world we play in.
And there's a lot of them. There is quite the seas we have going
I made
here.
12 for some reason. I started with the number 12 before it had any of the C's.
What, you didn't 13?
I had the name 12 Mystic Seas in my head, and I'm like, that's good, that rolls off the tongue. So I sat down and I wrote 12 of them.
Yes.
And 13 doesn't work. 11, I should have done 7. I should have just done 7 or 6 or 8. But 12 is a good number. No, absolutely. All right. So the major thing you need to know, 12 Mystic Seas.
Yes, 12.
We actually don't start in any of the 12 seas. We start in a world known as the mainland. This is not one of the 12 seas. This is the human regular world. The mainland, among many, many, many other things we will get into, is the origin and the birthplace of witchcraft and witches on the land. Old ladies that live in huts and cast dark magic and brew potions in their big pots. Witches were not very well liked by the people of this world, despite the fact that they weren't necessarily evil. Not all of them. Only a small few were truly terrible. Their difference in magic scared a lot of people, brought a lot of people to fear. And so because of that, the people of the mainland, the human armies and soldiers and wizards, went into the wilds and they drove all of the witches out. And they drove them out. They either killed them or drove them out of their houses. And so the witches had to move.
Just like in real life.
Just like in
real life. However, I don't think wizards
No.
But that's okay, because the mainland is where humans are, and the birthplace of humans and humankind.
Yes.
And
yes.
It's nice enough, but however, not as magical as many of the others.
See, it's not a Mystic Sea because it's just kind of boring. Personally, I think so. I have people
It's like the spearmint flavor of
absolutely. It's you can go there if you'd like, and I have people that disagree with me about that. I have people I have players that go we should go to the mainland more, and I go no. So
there's
the
nothing
witches,
fun.
The witches moved out of their houses. They either fought back, but eventually they all had to move. And because of the way continents work, eventually all witches ended up on the coast. And at the coast, they found pirates. And these witches talked to the pirates, and they went, hey, I have powerful dark magic. You're already running from the law. Let me join your crew, and I will protect you with my dark magic if you give me a place to live. And almost unanimously, these pirates were like, yeah, that's awesome. You should come join our crew. You're a witch. We have swords. This is great. Now, Zara the goddess of witchcraft,
Oh, quite.
lived in her home domain of the plane of nightmares. Her home dimension that was had vampires, and whenever anyone would have a nightmare, it would appear as a physical creature. Zara was like, "Oh, these pirate guys are great. I want them to come visit me. And I want all my witches to have a safe avenue to come visit me in my domain." So she flooded the plane of nightmares and turned it into the Sea of Curses. Now, this was 100 years ago before present day. And with witches joining the pirate crews, Zara also gifted all of the witches with a witch sight. Now, traveling between seas can get a little complicated. There are these portals that appear in giant waves called ways. That's Ways, ways. Ways appear randomly. They're extremely hard to track, and ways are the only way to get from one sea to another sea. With Zara creating the Sea of Curses and joining within the 12 seas, she gave each of her witches witch sight, and with witch sight, witches can 100% perfectly predict when ways will appear.
They're like a magical moral compass.
Oh, 100%.
And
very easy.
Witches being on pirate ships completely elevated the amount of control and the amount of stuff that pirates could do. Which,
100%.
for mainland, a little scary. But
yeah,
they're not really the mainland's problem. It's more
Not
of
really.
the 12 Seas problem.
The travel between the 12 seas had been done before, but it's always like sporadic and weird, and most of the time it was like a poor shipping vessel out at sea, or like fishermen who went a little too far away from the coast getting swallowed up by a wave and having to live the rest of their life out in essentially a different dimension. Now travel between the seas was consistent, it was easy, and it was understandable, and this started the age of piracy. The age where pirates have ruled and have been able to expand in all scenarios, in all situations. That was 100 years ago before the present day. And a century after witches joined pirate crews, piracy is at its highest level imaginable. And this is where we will start at the 12 seas.
Yes, and if anyone wants to know, that was 1392. Present day is 1492.
That is true. I forgot I gave numbers to it.
Know that?
Yeah.
Because I asked for numbers.
You did.
And a good timeline is always something good to have.
Oh, we must have a good timeline.
So Zara flooded the whole Plane of Nightmares, 1392.
Yes.
1390s, and that's when the age of piracy started sweeping the seas. And do you want to touch on the other ways to get to seas?
There are some other ways besides the giant waves that appear, but they're all considered ways. There are whirlpools, there are islands that exist in two seas simultaneously. So if you get on this island and walk to the other side, you naturally walk to the other, walk into another sea. Those haven't appeared in any of the campaigns Jaiden has played in, but those do exist. They are.
That sounds like Wonderland. That sounds like a Wonderland kind of thing.
Yeah. Any other way besides the giant waves are very rare, and within the lore, they're still considered ways.
Yeah.
Like you can't really just open a portal from one sea to another sea whenever you want. You really have to play it with the randomness. And that actually gets into a really important aspect of the entire 12 Mystic Seas overall. At the very fundamental nature of these worlds, it is inherently chaotic. It is inherently wild and random and just kind of hard to grasp around. And in this chaos is where these pirates work extremely well. All 12 seas work differently, they have different people, they have different cultures, but overall there is this chaos that inhabits everything and everyone.
moving on to
Moving on
the seas.
to the seas. The first sea that is the far most important to know, it is the one sea that every single pirate has been to, bar none, is the Sea of Stars. The Sea of Stars is the fundamental sea that makes the 12 seas the 12 seas. It is a flat plane, it is not on a globe, it extends out infinitely, it is always at nighttime, it has no natural land, no natural people or cultures. The sky is black. There are no stars because the stars exist within the ocean underneath. And the only feature of the Sea of Stars is just ways to all the other 11 seas as far as you can see. When ways appear, when these natural portals appear in the world, about 70% of them are to the Sea of Stars. So in case you're really lucky, if you're traveling from one sea to another sea, you will be going through the Sea of Stars. It is kind of this passageway from one sea to the other sea. Now, this would be convenient, but people don't really stay in the Sea of Stars that long because it's a little eerie. The stars have their secrets that they whisper up from the water. Pirates are a very superstitious people, and so they'll stay in the Sea of Stars as little as possible. If you fall into the sea, a lot of crews will just leave you there for fear of what's become of you or what secrets you have been told. Now, this leads to a very specific type of people in the world where sometimes stars being these eldritch beings of imaginable otherworldly power, will decide to leave this power behind. These essentially like gods in the ocean will remove all of their own memories, rise up from the Sea of Stars, and bond themselves to a person. These people are called star bearers, and if they choose to cultivate this power and relationship they have with a star, they are some of, if not the most powerful people within the 12 seas.
And this comes up more in like mechanics, because
Yes,
if
absolutely.
you choose to have a star, number one, cool. But number
Absolutely.
two, there are a lot of like mechanic things that come with that, especially
Yes.
having, you can basically create whatever star you like want, their
Yep.
character, their voice, pretty much everything.
Stars are a NPC, like fully either played by you or played by the game master. They are a very interesting plot point to add to any campaign, I would think, whether it's the main campaign or it's a personal character's arc. They are admired throughout the 12 seas, they are feared throughout the 12 seas. Everyone that has stepped outside of their home village has heard a story of a star bearer and the power they hold.
Yeah, and there is the way of getting a star through the Sea of Stars.
Yes.
However, there are a lot of other ways to get
That is true.
stars.
That is true.
Um,
If you best a star bearer in combat, you can take their star. You can just give a star to someone else. Your star, the actual character, can choose to unbond with you and bond with someone else. There's a bit of a black market trade for stars. There's some weird psychic magic can be used to essentially deactivate them and sell them for a profit.
However, they did like leave their godness behind in the Sea of Stars in order to breathe new life, and
That
because
is
they're
true.
gods and they are constantly watching pirates go through and whatnot.
Yes,
It was their
every time.
decision, but and it's stars are
I
such a cool mechanic.
I love the
I think
stars so
stars
much.
are
It's
awesome.
so much. I mean, like story and mechanics aside, it's so much fun to just have a little guy. You know, people love
Oh, yeah.
having just a little friend all the time. And in our home campaign, like half the party has a star now, so that's like 8 extra characters I get to have fun little voices for and different personalities for. Especially since I love making stars having like an opposite personality to the person they're bonded to. It's always a super fun dynamic and can lead to some awesome combat moments and some awesome lore moments.
Yeah.
Shout out Toodles. Shout out Amnesia.
Shout out Toodles.
Ted. Oh, Ted is great. Ted's probably evil. Sea of Forests is one of the first seas I created. The Sea of Forests is one of your more normal seas. It's not really alien or out there like the Sea of Stars is. It is a globe.
Yeah.
Unlike the Sea of Stars, it is a full planet. It doesn't have regular land though, the way Earth does essentially. What it has is vast forests of ginormous trees. These trees get to from like 2 miles thick to the bigger ones being 5 to 6 miles thick. They start at the ocean floor of the Sea of Forest and extend thousands of feet up to above the clouds. The Sea of Forest is also the home of the Elvish race within the 12 Mystic Seas. Now, the elves in the 12 Mystic Seas are very much unlike elves you would have known. They're essentially just, they share some of the culture of traditional fantasy elves and the pointed ears. Though elves in this world would be known as sea elves in like any other world. Their skin ranges from any shade of blue and any shade of green. They have webbed hands and feet. They have gills that allow them to breathe underwater. They also live inside these trees. Now, how they live inside the trees is different from one culture to the next. Some of them hollow them out with plant magic. Some of them just cut all the wood out. Some of them chop the trees down and then just like live on a floating ship essentially that is their culture. And the elves, very importantly in the 12 Mystic Seas, are not immortal. They don't live forever. They don't even live for hundreds of years. They used to live for hundreds of years, then somebody stole it from them as a collective race, meaning elves in this world now have a similar lifespan to humans, which hasn't come up, but it is an interesting plot point. I'm really excited for people to find out. Yeah, really like discover
future.
Because like if I lived for 900 years and I just knew that my entire life and I expected that, and then when I was like 25 someone stole that from me and said actually you're living 80, like that is intense. That is wild.
Yeah, that's. I did not realize that they were like.
Oh
fish
yeah,
people. That was
yeah,
new to me.
yeah. We don't.
Because I was imagining more like Legolas.
I mean, they
just
have
my
the
brain.
ears.
But practically
They have the
nothing
like
else.
angular features. You just have to like, you know, like Street Fighter color swap blue or green, and you're fine. You know? Yeah, no, they are essentially
Right.
the mer people of this world. Now, the elves are a very contentious people among each other. The different cultures of their continually fight. The Sea of Forests is consistently at war with itself, whether it is civil wars within a country or countries and empires fighting over land, which would be trees in this situation, obviously, but fighting over resources, fighting over different types of magic, as this is a very high magic world. This has led to essentially a magical arms race within all elvish cultures, because when they're at war or when they're not at war, it doesn't really matter. Elves are always trying to find new types of destructive magic to use against each other. Anywhere in the 12 Seas, whenever any type of maybe new magic is being cultivated or discovered, there will be an elf there who wants to take it back to their homeland and use it against the other elves, which leads to some weird unknown types of magic being used in the Sea of Forests that is used and then left and then sits there and mixes with all the other types of magic, leading to the chaos magic of the 12 Mystic Seas originating within the Sea of Forests. Yeah. I feel like this episode is good for Jaiden specifically to get like a wider view of the 12 Mystic Seas outside of what we play in the campaigns. Yes, chaos magic finds its root within the Sea of Forest. It's spread everywhere now. You can find people of any race with chaos magic. But yeah, no, the years of experimental magic using and magic casting has led to that.
Which is understandable. I mean, they're trying to figure out a way for immortality.
That's absolutely a part of it too.
This is sounding so familiar. Sounding a little
familiar. Hey, we all draw inspiration from somewhere. Chaos magic.
Yeah, like Spain for the Fountain
absolutely.
of Youth.
Yes.
History repeats itself.
The 12 Mystic Seas as a whole absolutely has crazy monsters and just beings in the ocean and just like magical beings that will attack on sight, which leads to a lot of the combats happening in world, but also combats happening in game, just essentially random encounters. The Sea of Forests, very specifically though, because this wild chaos magic has absolutely I say absolutely a lot. It's kind of my filler word this episode. I'm just now realizing that.
Yeah.
The chaos magic has affected the wildlife of the Sea of Forests, leading to traveling in the Sea of Forests to be a little more dangerous than any of the other seas. Not just because you might show up in the middle of, like, war, but also, like, what would be a regular creature before now can explode and shoot fire out of its eyeballs and throw a tornado at you if it wants.
Right.
Which also leads a lot of monster hunters to spend a lot of time in the Sea of Forests. Now, there is a little sub. Oh, please,
May
please do.
May I talk about usually because the Sea of Forests is constantly in war, constantly mostly civil wars
Right.
against each other. Most travelers or tourists that head into the Sea of Forests have around 14 to 15 days to do their stuff and
Yes.
then leave before they are enlisted into the Elvish army.
Now,
which there is a
Yes.
timeline for that, for keeping track of how long you
yeah,
guys
and
are
this-
there, which is
oh,
very fun mechanic, but also very scary
and that
mechanic.
absolutely plays into that differs from culture to culture, as a lot of the Elvish cultures do have very stark differences, and those differences are a lot of the reasons of why they go to war. There isn't just one reason why they go to war. But yeah, that kind of like, hey, we always need to keep our armies filled, plays into a lot of the culture of, like, a lot of taverns are known to just give away free drinks to tourists, hoping that they have a 2-week bender and then the army gets more people. Like, that stuff is, like, interlaced everywhere, and it is really cool, and I like it. The Sea of Forests is one of my favorite places to play in because it feels like it has elements of that quintessential fantasy with the own, like, nautical, piratey, chaotic 12 Mystic Seas baked into it as well. Yeah.
Energy,
No,
yeah.
I really, yeah. I love all 12 Seas. I made all of them. They're all my babies. But the Sea of Forests, I find myself drawn back to time and time again. There is absolutely a sub-element, though, below all the wars of the old witches of the Elvish culture. Now, elves are no longer immortal, but elves born before that immortality was taken away, some of them are still around. Some of them are still doing their dark deeds in the shadows of all the warfare. You could absolutely have an entire campaign based around the old witches of the Sea of Forests doing whatever they can to get their immortality back. Because that could absolutely span all 12 seas. Now, the next sea, if you have nothing else to say, Jaiden Weed.
I
Got
don't.
it.
I in fact do not.
The next sea, my personal favorite sea. Like I said before, I started with the number of 12 and wanting to make 12 Mystic Seas, and I sat down and I wrote 12 seas out. This is the first sea I created. I find myself, more than the Sea of Forests, trying to fit this sea in any way I can. This is the Sea of Honey. The Sea of Honey I love with my whole heart. It is a sea that is like every queen bee boss fight you've played in any fantasy game. It's here.
It's here.
The
It's
Sea of Honey
here.
is mostly categorized by its sickly yellow sky and the amber brown, honey brown ocean. The sea is not actually honey. It is not edible. It is salty. It is gross. It's called the Sea of Honey because it looks like honey and it is thick like honey. Traveling, but
Yeah, it's got the consistency
yeah.
of like you fall in and
Sorry. You might not.
you might not be
No,
able to
it's not
move.
as thick as honey. It's about twice as thick as water, but it's thick enough that it causes some issues. It sucks to travel through there. People will avoid it if they can. The other main aspect of the Sea of Honey are these giant bees and giant plants that are constantly at war with each other. The bees being known as the vertebrates, closer to wasps, I would say. Essentially, just imagine giant insects with stingers that can kill you. Um, there are different subsets of vertebrates and how they work. Not all of them fight the exact same way. The giant plants live in the ocean, and through enzymes and through how their leaves are built, can travel through the ocean extremely quickly. These are known as knot straws. Side note,
Not
they're called
straws.
knot straws because when I was very little, I was playing Super Mario Bros. For the DS, and I saw a piranha plant, and I said, "What is that called?" to my little brother who was watching me play, and he said, "That's called a knot straw because it's not a straw." And I believed him for 10 years. It took until the Mario
Right.
movie. Yeah,
Oh
no, I know. For
no.
me to go, wait, no, that's stupid. They're called piranha plants. Um, no, I think it took until Piranha Plant was added into Smash Bros. To be like, what am I thinking? But yes, these giant plants mainly live in the ocean. They come out to fight the vertebrates. Um, they are carnivorous plants. They have different sacs and like dissolving acid. Some of them just have mouths with teeth and stomachs inside of them while still being plants.
Right.
Real spooky. The Sea of Honey is still visited though, because in the large islands that are the hives for the vertebrates, there is a very special resource known as boom honey. We
Yes,
know
there
boom honey,
is.
Jaden Weed, don't
Boom
we?
honey. Yes, yes, we do. We do know boom honey quite well, in fact.
Boom honey is the most volatile uh, essence in this world. Looking at it too hard will make it explode, and it will explode to a magnitude you have never seen before. Now, boom honey is wanted because there is a very specific ritual that people who only live in the Sea of Honey know, and people do only live in the Sea of Honey. There's a very specific ritual. It's somewhere between alchemy and like divine spell work that can that can kind of purify boom honey into a metal known as honey copper. Yes,
Honey
honey
copper.
copper is a lot less volatile while still being prone to explosion under the right amount of heat. Honey copper, when fashioned into a weapon, and stabbed into anything really, will cause the atoms of the thing it's stabbed into to explode on their own. The honey copper itself does not explode, it turns other things into explosive material and then detonates the charge. This can kill a person in a single stab. If not, it'll take out an arm or a torso. It is one of the most sought after materials. If you have a honey copper dagger, you can take out 10 people at once. It is
Oh yeah.
incredibly
Extreme
yes.
versatile
I think in the
for
home
sure.
campaign we still have a cannonball made out of honey copper. We have yet to use.
Yes, we do. We
Yes.
call it the nuke because I think we had at least 9 bars of honey copper fastened to multiple like
Yes.
cannonballs. And since we moved to a completely new ship, we still have
Yes.
yet to use it. But once we do,
One
it'll be
issue,
it'll
one
be
issue
fun.
will be taken care of immediately. You guys have a
Yeah.
red button in your back pocket that I'm really hoping you use in a wrong way so I can have it backfire, but you've saved it for so long. I know you're going to save it for the perfect situation, and I'm going to go, wait, I forgot you had that. And it's going to ruin my
Yep.
combat and everyone is going to be so happy. Some
Yeah.
real quick things. There is a island which is a tambus, a giant hippo. We'll get onto that when we get into the Sea of Blood. This is a dead
Blood.
tambus. This is a dead island-sized hippo that has been encased in amber, made out of boom honey. Now, amber, when boom honey turns into amber, it loses all of its magical qualities, right? People live on the back of this. It's known as the Amber Island. There was also an island that was essentially brought over piece by piece from other seas in the 12 seas to form a supreme fighter dojo where anyone from any of the 12 seas can find their fighting style and excel and grow in it. As there is a magical aspect of the Sea of Honey where if you are there and you train with the water and you train with the world, you can kind of unlock a method of fighting where like you can slow down your perception in combat, which makes you a lot better to like react to things and play with things as you need. There are floating islands in the Sea of Honey that are the only natural, like, I mean, the Hive Islands are natural, but they're like dirt and stone and stuff. The closest thing you're going to get to that are the floating islands very high up in the sky. Those are populated mainly by the flying races of the 12 Mystic Seas, the people that have wings. People go there to hide.
Mm-hmm.
And very deep in the Sea of Honey, it is extremely hard to travel underwater, right? At the very base, we don't actually know the true bottom of the Sea of Honey because as you get deeper and deeper, the pressure solidifies the water into just solid like rock and stone, and it's incredibly hard to get through. But cracks have been opening up in the base of this, and water from the Sea of Stars has been leaking through, and stars have been leaking from the Sea of Stars into the Sea of Honey, which is something that hasn't been, hasn't come up in any of my games. But again, one of those weird magical mysteries. Cool. Anything to say about the Sea of Honey? I feel like I'm talking a lot, and I have you here, and I want to use you while you're here to give insight.
Yeah, that is all right. You created this world. You know what's going on. And I do have my insight here and there.
Yes.
The Sea of Honey, which is definitely one of my favorites. I wanted to touch a little bit on the Amber Island and Fighting Island, because those are two places I enjoyed quite a bit.
That is true.
The Sea of Honey is a home to like a vast amount of races, and like humans live there. Nandoi, maybe.
The
not
Amber
really.
Island or the Fighting Island?
The Fighting Island houses every race in the book. Race Under the Sea lives in, like, the Fighting Island in particular houses every fighting style known, and because of that, a lot of starbearers tend to gravitate towards this Fighting Island, this dojo that I nicknamed the Jade Palace from Kung Fu Panda. This Fighting Island houses what is called the Nine, which are 9 mysterious star-bearing individuals that kind of help the Fighting Island run smoothly. And basically, you kind of have to go through them in order to at least speak to them, get in the dojo, have friends in the area. And knowing them will get you very far.
They are a powerhouse because so elves are native to the Sea of Forests. Nobody's native to the Sea of Honey. There are no races or people or cultures that call the Sea of Honey home. It is mainly populated by travelers from other seas. The Amber Island was created kind of all at once with 3 very large shipping vessels about 150 years before present day, all landed on the Amber Island at once with humans, Shopade, the lizard people that we're about to get into, and Penpedo, the bug people. On the Fighting Island specifically, it is all people from other seas that travel to this island, which, it being the age of piracy and travel between seas being much easier, islands and people like this can actually start to exist, where the seas that were previously just terrible hellholes where just crazy monsters killed everyone for a million years can actually like gain a people and gain a culture, and it's a lot easier for people to like get use out of them and to get interesting, like get things from it.
Sorry, my cat came into my room and is being
beautiful. No hard feelings whatsoever.
Girl.
Girl cat, I do.
Girl. Now's
Girl
not the
cat, come on.
time.
We're talking about the Sea of Honey.
Girl.
Let's
We're
go.
talking about the Sea of Honey.
Goodbye.
Farewell, girl.
Girl cat. But yes, of
May
course,
continue.
people living full-time in seas beyond their own is an extremely new thing. Like, people living full-time in other seas, on purpose, right? Because people would accidentally be taken to another sea and have to live the rest of their life out there. But people living in other seas on purpose is an extremely new thing and an extremely interesting thing in this world I really like playing with.
Right.
Cool. Next up is one that we haven't really visited in any of our games. It is the Sea of Dragons. The Sea of Dragons is one of the oldest seas in the world. By the time before the age of piracy, academics, not really scientists, but like professors and people that studied different seas, knew about all 12 seas through any number of means. The earliest records we have the Sea of Dragons as one of the 12 seas. As seas get destroyed and are created all the time in the lore, right? Lore. Lore.
Oh god.
That's just a theory.
No.
So yeah, the Sea of Dragons is one of the oldest one, and it's called the Sea of Dragons because there are dragons there. Who would have guessed? Whoop-de-doo. The dragons in the Sea of Dragons are extremely powerful. They are very long, more serpentine creatures. They are aquatic, as well as they can live above the ocean as well as below the ocean evenly, perfectly fine. They actually need to spend a lot of time in the ocean specifically because dragons in this world exclusively breathe fire. They run hot, and so they spend about equal times above and below water because they need to swim underwater to physically cool off and have that heat dissipate into the ocean, which there's enough dragons in the Sea of Dragons, and dragons are doing this enough that the ocean in the Sea of Dragons is naturally a little warm. Like anywhere you go, it's rare to find a patch of ocean that is like not even cold, but like room temperature. Like it's a little warm, not like hot tub hot, but like, warm bath hot, which would feel uncomfortable to anyone not used to that as the ocean.
Is there a nighttime?
The Sea
in
of
the Sea of
Honey
Dragons?
and the Sea of Dragons are also both globes. They're both regular planets. Yeah. There is a daytime and a nighttime in both of those seas. I'm gonna clarify the seas that
The more you know.
I'm gonna clarify the seas that are not globes because you can just kind of assume most of these are regular shaped worlds. The Sea of Dragon has regular forming land masses just like Earth. There's no weird trees or anything here. The Sea of Dragons is home to the Shilpade, which are the scaly, dragon-like lizard people in this world. They come in all colors, all different patterns. If you were making a Shilpade character, you can essentially choose any real-life lizard or really any dragon design, and it would work as a Shilpade. There's a lot of not biodiversity, but like ethnic diversity within the Shilpade that a lot of Shilpade look different from each other. Same thing with the elves being any shade of blue or any shade of green. Dragons are extremely powerful. They are also worshipped by a lot of Shilpade races as gods. Now, the question outside of the Sea of Dragons, if dragons are gods or not, is hotly debated in worlds. They are extremely powerful, and there are many cases of dragons defeating gods in combat. While dragons don't have a specific domain they rule over, they are essentially equal in power with a god, and are worshipped as such. Now, dragons are very powerful because they have a lot of access to fire. They breathe fire. They are their own, flamethrower. But they're also extremely useful for their access to a minor sea known as the Sea of Ink. Now, minor seas are dimensions in this world that are not one of the 12 seas. The Sea of Ink is accessed exclusively by dragons and creatures riding on a dragon's back. The Sea of Ink, I'll touch on that real quick. The sky is paper white. The ocean is blacky ink. Dragons can go to the Sea of Ink, and from the Sea of Ink, you can travel to any other sea instantly, except for the Sea of Stars. Also, from the Sea of Stars, you cannot go to the Sea of Ink. You can only do it on the dragon's back. Now, for many years, before the age of piracy and before kind of the witch boom, this gave the dragons a lot of power over other seas. Some divine connection within dragons kept them like choosing to stay within the Sea of Dragons most of the time, but early history tells of dragons that tried to go and take over many of the other seas and were oftentimes successful because traveling between seas is so difficult, but on a dragon it is easy. But yeah, the Sea of Dragons very old. They have a lot of history. Now, the interesting kind of wrinkle in the Are Dragons Gods conversation is that many Shilpade have, like other creatures in this world, ascended to godhood over a specific domain. The Sea of Dragons specifically has many more gods than any other culture. Individual cultures within the Sea of Dragons have between 20 to 30 gods each. Which means if you want to meet or see a god, going to the Sea of Dragons, you will probably find one somewhere. As they are gods with immense power and immortality, they are known to just kind of walk around and exist in the world.
Which is awesome, by the way.
Which is really cool.
And as like a game master, having the ability to have so much access to gods is actually very helpful and very useful, and any game players that want to have access to just, hey, game master, I want to go find a god. Totally easily accessible.
Or like, hey, I need a new god. Let's just go to the Sea of Dragons. There's I can pick a lot there, right? Right. And that was a very specific choice to kind of give each sea its own vibe and kind of its own genre of story. I say that very loosely because the story is like pirates, it's roguish adventurers who are incredibly lucky, doing things that aren't necessarily noble, but at the end of the day, for the better good. The Sea of Dragons kind of lends itself to a more mythological feel, a more great heroes with giant monsters and like a lot of godly influence feel story to the world, wherein in the Sea of Forests you'd probably have like some like espionage and some like war intrigue. The Sea of Dragons is one I haven't spent a lot of time in when running games. I spent a lot of time thinking about it and writing it, but through playtesting the system and playtesting really this world, I have found that I have a lot more information to like talk about the seas when I've played in that sea. And collectively, I've ran one session in the Sea of Dragons, and most of it was in a prison, which doesn't tell you a lot about the culture or the people compared to the like 20-something sessions I've ran in the Sea of Honey. Overall, yeah, Sea of Dragons is real cool. Next up, there is the one sea I did not create myself. I've expanded on the lore greatly, but the Sea of Darkness. Now, the Sea of Darkness is not an evil sea. The term darkness comes from the fact that the entire dimension is underground. It has a ceiling. It has a cap. There is no sky. There is no day-night cycle. It is all dark all the time. Now, the Sea of Darkness does have a lot of bioluminescence, and the people of the world do have vegetation they can burn for fire and stuff. It's not like dark all the time. But the Sea of Darkness is actually home to two different races of people. You have the Radon, which are rat-like people, shorter than the average human most of the time. They live on the ground of the Sea of Darkness. The Radon are the origin of like earth magic in this world, and using earth magic, they kind of live in caves. They'll live in the walls of the Sea of Darkness sometime. The Sea of Darkness doesn't have like a clearly defined edge, but there are like stone walls in the middle of it that people will have to sail around, as it is still an ocean. There is still an ocean there. I guess it's technically a lake because it's underground, but it's ocean sized. You know, who's counting? It's a fantasy world. Get off my
Right.
back.
Ah.
The Sea of Darkness is also home to the Paniki, the bat-like race in the 12 Mystic Seas. The Paniki live on the ceiling. Now, the Sea of Darkness, I know,
Brilliant.
I would have guessed. With in houses and stuff, they don't just cling to the ceiling. The Sea of Darkness was not made by me. The original pitch was from my little brother. As I was writing the sea, I took out a sea called the Sea of the Dead that I really didn't like, and it's still technically canon. It's just been destroyed previously before Common Day. And I asked my little brother, he said, "Oh, you should have a sea that's like mining underground in Minecraft." And I'm like, "Awesome, great, it's a cave. We got it, perfect." The Sea of Darkness is very interesting because you have this inherent two separate cultures that are slowly getting to learn more about each other, which provides a lot of the intrigue and a lot of the story that isn't necessarily conflict. It's just you have the extremely magical, kind of brutalist society that is the Paniki. They're not like fascist or like bad, but they're a lot more like strict. They're not really super religious. It's all about learning. It's all about scientific discovery. And then you have the Radon on the ground that are a lot more people of the land. The Radon are a lot more in touch with the inherent magical natures of the Sea of Darkness, being, you know, like the people that are like learning like mining and learning how to like deal with like the rock and the stone and the fact that they are living underground. Yeah, Paniki have a lot of magic. Many of the magical schools in the 12 Mystic Seas are in the Sea of Darkness, namely the school Willowpane, which is where the second or the other Shuffle campaign is taking place in. People from all over the 12 Mystic Seas travel to the Sea of Darkness to learn about magic there because the Beniki are such a magical culture. The Radon have a lot of variables within the different Radon cultures that do exist. Namely, there is the Church of Solemnium, which is this church dedicated to a sun god known as the Golden One, who is depicted as a Radon that is made out of solid gold. There is no sun in the Sea of Darkness. A lot of the Radon culture, a lot of the religious teachings of the Solemnium talk about shattering the ceiling of the Sea of Darkness and kind of raising up to what the surface of the world is, if there even is one, which is a lot of the, not all, but a lot of the story and conflict that come from the Radon. Now, there are parts of the Sea of Darkness that are in complete darkness. A lot of people that don't have a witch in the 12 Mystic Seas can discover where a way is being created by looking at the stars and looking at specific constellations that will travel to a specific sea. This technique was discovered around the same time witches, like the witch boom, happened. So even if you don't have a witch, travel between seas is a lot easier. The Sea of Darkness has a plant called star moss, and star moss is on the ceiling of the Sea of Darkness and is gives the appearance of stars in the night sky, which people can use to detect ways. There are dark spots that have no star moss and no bioluminescent plants. In these places, magic works differently and works strangely, and there are creatures that exclusively live in these places that are sought out by people that want to learn more about magic, like the Paniki, but very often people do not come back, which is
scary.
Yes.
And unfortunate.
We have spent a fair amount of time in the Colosseum as well. In the Sea of Darkness as well. There is a
yes. Haha.
Caught me there, Freudian slip. There is a Colosseum in the Sea of Darkness where essentially all the countries send their prisoners to fight. The Colosseum is a really bad place in the home game.
Yeah, it sounds cool in hindsight. However, it is run very cruelly and may or may not exist.
We'll see.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I may or may not have started a war in the home
yes.
campaign to take the whole thing down because I didn't like it.
Wars, let me be clear. You're gonna be taken to court for that
Oh,
in the next home campaign session. Like
yeah.
interdimensional court. That'll be fun. The next C, Jaiden, I feel like you will have a lot to talk about. A fair amount.
Oh,
This C has
absolutely.
been mentioned previously in this episode so far. This is the C of curses. Curses.
Indeed.
Honestly, if you want to
Horses.
take it away, I can give this one to you. If you wanna,
All
I'll fill in any
right.
gaps you might miss of
Yeah.
stuff people need, but do what you need to do.
Beautiful. Well, the Sea of Curses is the domain of Zara, the goddess of witchcraft. And her 1390s basically helped her people, the witches, and piracy throughout the whole
Yes.
12 seas. However, she also flooded the whole
Yep.
plane of nightmares and created the Sea of Curses. And therefore, the nightmares that came to life in the nightmare plane now are created in the
Yes.
Sea of Curses. And they are known as Curseborns. Curseborns are a specific race that you can play
Yes.
as where they can be made of practically anything as long as it is
Yes.
a nightmare that gains consciousness and is now a person, has emotions, and it has its own consciousness. It is my all-time favorite race to play. It is the only race I have ever played, and I have single-handedly created
Oh, so many.
abominations for the whole Mystic Seas to see. She is a beaut. Zara herself, I love talking about gods. I will go on and on about the gods in this world. I am creating a list of
Oh,
gods in
yes,
this
you are.
world. And Zara being one of the single best gods to date, she has a like whiskey wine mom personality. She kind of she's very different towards a lot of people, especially different races. However, Curseborns, she identifies as her people, and she takes care of them as much as she can. You are able to contact her in the Sea of Curses if you are a Cursedborn.
Yep.
You can also contact her as other races. However, it is much more difficult.
Oh yes. No.
It is. Zara is much more difficult to contact if you are any other race. She has a special soft spot for Curseborns as they are hers.
Zara
and-
has a clear favorite, which leads
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of witches actually to have hard feelings towards Curseborn, even though they are like the children of their god, of their master. The witch sight that Zara gives to her witches is also extended to some Curseborn. So very often, the witch role that pirate crews have will fall to a Curseborn instead of a witch.
And this is true.
Now, not every Curseborn is their crew's witch, but sometimes they are. They are witch nepo babies.
Indeed, which definitely, it's like Zara and her husbands are witches, and the mom likes their daughters or sons or
Yes. Oozes.
children more.
Right.
Oozes more.
Oozes. Sometimes they're a weird ooze.
Yes. The character I play in my home game, in the home game, is called Ooze,
Yes.
and they are a Cursedborn trying to become a god of poisons, and they are wonderful, and they are my favorite character to play. But more touching on the Sea of Curses, there are people, and most races already have a stigma against most Cursedborns, especially witches, being as Zara's whole personality towards witches are more of like a subservient, like
Right.
I did things for you, you should worship me and do things back for me, which is have a very mixed relationship with Zara herself. However, a lot of people, because Curseborns look and are very dangerous because they are created from pretty much anyone's nightmare, which the imagination is already scary. But so there has been rises in nightmare hunters.
Mm.
And nightmare hunters are something that we are going to get into more in the one of our campaigns that I am
In the campaign you
and
are
I'm
in.
another Curseborn, so that'll be
Yes.
fun. However, that's
That's
some
gonna
conflict.
have maybe some conflict.
But nightmare
That'll be a
hunters are
good
found
time.
in pretty much every single sea. They have multiple different names, multiple different agencies.
Primarily,
Yeah.
primarily in
Their
the Sea of
home
Curses.
base.
There is a very important distinction I want to make, that not
Yeah.
all nightmares become curseborn. Most 99% of nightmares are mindless animals that take the shape of whatever people in the 12 Seas have nightmares about. Every once in a while, one of them will gain consciousness and decide, I want more than this role I was created to be in, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to learn about the world. Nightmare hunters primarily hunt the mindless animal nightmares, though for many years they did also hunt curseborn. There is change within their culture and their society.
Anything else to add for the
That
Sea
is
of
absolutely
Curses?
the case. The Sea of Curses is a dark and gloomy place to be. It is either nighttime or extremely overcast and rainy. The ocean is like a somewhat transparent, but mostly like obsidian onyx black look. Like if you took a photo of it, it would look like it was carved out of a black gemstone. There is a constant lightning storm of terrible, just like pain and suffering and just like electrical shocks happening underneath the ocean or underneath the surface of the ocean. There is a constant storm happening underneath there. That, fun fact, this is kind of deep lore, that storm is the collective subconscious of all the people in the 12 seas, and the electric shocks are synapses in the brain going off as people dream.
And I will now make my typical comparison.
Of
Dream
course.
journal from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. The ocean is now a dream journal. But I
Do you
get where you're
ever-
going with neurons connecting
Right,
and
right.
right.
Do you
But
ever
dream
think
journal.
you have like a cool idea and you're like, oh, this is so unique and interesting, and isn't this amazing? And then Jaiden Weed joins your call and goes, actually,
It's the dream journal.
actually, fun fact, um, well, actually, Robert Rodriguez in 2005 actually came up with that when he
He-
directed the movie Shark Boy and Lava
He
Girl.
actually did that already?
Yeah, and I'm like, well, all right, time to pack it in, time to go.
All right.
Nothing else
Enough.
left. Nothing else left for me. Cool. Next one. Boom. Sea of Sand. Sea of Sand is a ocean. It is full of sand. There is not a lot of it. There is not clear lines between what's ocean and what's land, as the tides will change. Pick up things of sand, move them around everywhere. The Sea of Sand is the home place of the Gavito, which is the Minotaur-esque race, Snake Minotaur, but more humanized. The Sea of Sand is mostly categorized by the need for fresh water. Now, there are so many different things that happen in the Sea of Sand that isn't involved with the need for fresh water. But there's not really lakes or rivers. I mean, it rains, but there's still sand in the rain. So a big part of Gavito culture is taking the water and purifying it to make it drinkable. And there's a lot of cultural significance towards dry land. There are continent-sized sections of land, but it's just desert. There's no life. It's absolutely dry there. Nobody lives there. No one that is sane, actually. Yeah, living on solid land is hard. It is done. Most of living on solid land is smaller islands out in the ocean that actually can sustain some form of life. or any living on the continent is done on the coast so people can have access to the ocean. There's not a lot of solid, sturdy plant life. Like, trees are fairly rare, so building a huge boat is often a undertaking. It's used with other materials besides just wood. People also ride aquatic creatures from islands to islands or from land to land. It can be done, and Jaiden is standing up and leaving. I am stuck alone. I am so sad and scared. I'm trying to get through this because this is very long. I love talking about the 12 Mystic Seas, but goodness gracious. There's extremely old soul magic that is used there. A lot of the natural creatures have weird interactions with mortals. They have their own gods. The gods are very old. There are people that live underground under the ground of the main continent in these large caves. These are Gavito as well. That it's a little easier to live there, but it's you're gonna do what you gotta do. Living underground. Fresh water is scarce. That's the Sea of Sand. Anything
Not
to
really,
say?
other than I would love to go there once.
Yes.
I think I do have a question though.
Yes.
Sea of Sand, it does have a sea, correct?
Yes, it is an ocean.
But
like,
is
is water.
Yeah.
There's just it's like water and like quicksand.
Yum.
So a lot of it, there's like you can't really get a hard map in the Sea of Sand because a lot of it isn't just like here's the ocean and here's the land. It's like you sail and then eventually you stop, and it's like oh,
Got it.
okay, so let's get
Does
out here.
tides like move sand
Yep.
around?
Yeah, like the tide will like move, and so people either live in Venice-like cities that float. There's a lot of buildings that are on stilts that are above the tide, and those have interesting things with the tides raising and lowering. Just like real life, tides can, go up like 90 feet and
It's
like
true.
lower and like lower really low. So it's a lot of ladders getting up to stuff. Yeah, no. Gabito
Very-
stuff is really, really interesting. I say given with heavy air quotes, I've essentially given the Sea of Sand to my good friend Sarah, who all of you will meet in the Willowpain campaign. She has drawn it out, added a lot of lore. The Sea of Sand used to the entire world, the entire globe used to all be ruled by one empire that was recently overthrown. So a lot of countries are deciding whether they want to stay together, deciding their own culture. Now, a lot of religions that were banned are coming back again. So there's a lot of like, oh, hey, how do we worship this god we haven't been allowed to in 50 years? Which is something I really want to do. Something I really like. All of these just exist to inspire whatever stories people want to tell.
Sure.
I have 12 seas, and in my want to make all 12 seas their own individual worlds, I've realized that you probably shouldn't go to all 12 because you're not going to get really anything sustainable if your goal is to just hit all 12 as fast as possible.
There's so much to explore.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing.
Home campaign has been going on for about a year and a half now. Jaiden, you joined about half a year in. We have hit maybe 7 of the 12 seas in the home campaign, just because there's good stuff everywhere you find if you know where to look, which has been genuinely like that was my goal from the beginning. It's been really cool to see these worlds get fleshed out as we play in them, and as I get more writers on, as I hand more things out. Now, the next 2,
oh boy,
will be described separately, but they fill a very similar role in the 12 seas, despite working in extremely opposite ways. This is the Sea of Gold and the Sea of Taxes. Now, these two we have not.
Unfortunately, not. However, the amount that we have talked about these two seas, exponential.
Matter. They matter in the world. I will say, aside from all the campaigns I've run, I've run many one shots with like people just once in this world, right? So between all that. Between all the main campaigns and all the one shots I've ran with people that have only played once, I have at least ran one session in every sea except the Sea of Taxes.
Are you serious?
I, as the creator of this world, have never been to the Sea of Taxes before. Which, I want to go. I want to see what it's like.
The Sea of Taxes, I think, I've explained to you this before.
Yes.
But I think having a like Hunger Games battle royale in the Sea of Taxes
Oh,
is my preferred
oh,
campaign.
absolutely, absolutely. One day we haven't tested PvP yet. In Shuffle as like a playtest, we haven't playtested PvP. One day people are gonna show up for Shuffle, and I'm gonna go shoot. I didn't prepare anything, and I'm like, okay, everyone gets taken to the Sea of Taxes. We're fighting to the death.
Boom.
Yeah. And that's gonna be amazing. Maybe we'll do that with the 2 campaigns. And like if we ever get popular enough to
Oh,
start a
goodness.
Patreon, we'll have that one shot up on the Patreon to be like technically non-canon, but here you can watch all
Wouldn't it be
all
fun?
9 players fight to the death.
Now,
Yes.
Moon,
Yes.
what is the Sea of Taxes?
Well, the Sea of Taxes, Jaiden Weed, is one of the 12 seas. It is the most out of all the seas. People like traveling there the least. Most people will avoid it like the plague if they can, because of the superstition that, frankly, is extremely well founded. If you lose anything in any of the 12 mystic seas and you cannot find it within a day, it is gone. It has been stolen into the Sea of Taxes. The leader, the owner, the god of the Sea of Taxes is a being known as the Taxmaster, and he has heavy air quotes because this is just audio, graciously allowed everyone to live in the 12 seas. And as a tax, he takes things. He takes gold, he takes pets, he takes people sometimes. People will wake up and find themselves taken to the Sea of Taxes, which leads to a mixing and matching of every people and magic and architecture and building and land from all of the other seas in the Sea of Taxes at once. Everyone is here, which means everyone is here. Wars and combat and contentions that never would have happened because they would have been separated by dimensions can now finally happen. Sea of Taxes is an extremely chaotic place to be. It is, for all intents and It is, for all intents and purposes, the 12 Mystic Seas, like, boiled down to its most quintessential part, which is people are inherently chaotic and will inherently just kind of do whatever. Being taken to the Sea of Taxes is really bad. It can be undone. You can leave the Sea of Taxes. You just have to get someone to come to the Sea of Taxes and give stuff to the Taxmaster of equal value to you, which can be difficult if you are egotistical. Humble people can show up, give an apple, and then they can leave, right?
Oh, so it's based on ego.
It is. It's based on self-importance. So kings have been taken to the Sea of Taxes before and brought, millions of gold, horses, other people, and still not been allowed to leave.
Yikes.
But humble people have written to their families and said, bring 10 barrels of wheat, and they are allowed to leave. It is inherently a mind game to live in the Sea of Taxes and try to escape. And if you die in the Sea of Taxes, you're a ghost and you can't leave.
Eternity.
Yes. Now,
in taxes.
Yep. You can visit the Sea of Taxes, and if you visit, like, through a way, you're allowed to leave. That's fine. But even if you're just visiting and you die, you're stuck there forever. So people really don't go there. Now, kind of the antithesis to the Sea of Taxes is the Sea of Gold.
But Moon,
Yes.
What does the Sea of Taxes look like?
Well, Sea of Taxes has a blue ocean, a blue sky. Every piece of land has been stolen from another sea. Many of the pieces of what people consider to be land are piles of stuff that have been stolen. You will see people build houses on a mile-wide island of just different matchboxes. It is every, sorry, are you asking for something specific?
It's a giant melting pot.
It is a melting pot.
Not particularly. I was just asking for, what the sea looks
Yes.
like, kind of. In my mind, I'm imagining, Castaway.
100%.
100%. Very white sand and, palm trees, but just, things everywhere.
Yeah. Pretty much. There are trees from the Sea of Forests there. There's, 5 or 6 that just, the entire tree has been taken, and everyone inside.
So don't lose your things.
So don't lose your things.
Don't lose your
or
things.
they're not yours anymore. Now, the
Simple as that.
the opposite is the Sea of Gold. Now, the Sea of Gold is also not really visited. The Sea of Gold is essentially a paradise. Everything is fundamentally perfect, down to the ocean being fresh water you can drink. Not only can you drink, it tastes perfect every time. It tastes like your favorite thing. The Sea of Gold is always at sunset. But it's bright enough that you can see and do whatever you want, but it's dim enough that you can sleep outside without needing to cover your eyes. The ocean just has gold floating in it. It's not fake gold, it's not pyrite, it's real gold. It just floats up to the top and you can grab it whenever you want. There are giant cow-like aquatic animals that are incredibly like well fed, like incredibly fat, that always, like, the meat always cooks to the perfect amount, and they will just float up to your boat and just wait for you to kill them and eat them. The islands are perfect. It is a perfect place to be until you stay there. And it is essentially a Venus flytrap of a dimension. It will infect you with what's known as gold fever. Now, gold fever is kind of hard to catch because it is such a perfect place. Of course, people would want to stay. But gold fever starts as that first thought of, well, I'm already here. I can just take a little bit more because it's so easy to get. Many people die in the Sea of Gold because they go, well, it's right here. We're here to, like, pick up meat to sell. It's so easy. Let's just take a little more until their ship sinks, right? And people that have gold fever, people that choose to stay, are slowly, their souls are slowly drained away by a mysterious entity at the center of the Sea of Gold. As the Sea of Gold is not a planet, the Sea of Gold is not a flat plane, the Sea of Gold is shaped like a donut.
Shocking.
Shocking.
A shocking turn of events, people.
Who would have guessed?
It's shaped like a donut.
That wasn't mine.
And it's a Venus flytrap.
That wasn't me.
No, it was
that was
not.
Teddy, but I love it so much. I'm going to keep it. Teddy, you know, as Cherry Vivaldi in the campaign. I have essentially given the Sea of Gold to Teddy, who has taken stuff with it and ran. The Sea of Gold is really cool. There are some people that do live there full time that in their own cultural ways do things to overcome gold fever. In the Sea of Taxes, people can't leave. In the Sea of Gold, people choose not to leave. That's where me calling them separate but very similar come from. Also, if you die in the Sea of Gold, you also become a ghost, but stuck there eternally.
And this is the creation of ghost ships and ghost fleets
Yes.
and ghost things.
90% of ghosts in this world come from either the Sea of Gold or the Sea of Taxes. I'll be honest, some are allowed to leave. There is a ghost pirate captain in the Sea of Taxes who was given permission from the taxmaster to leave and then goes across all the seas fighting people and killing people and, you know, kind of being a evil ghost pirate captain. He currently lives in the Sea of Gold and he's gathering up ghostly forces to do something people don't know. But that's a little bit of intrigue right there. Yes.
Can you play a ghost?
You can kind of.
There is a mechanic skill where you can
be
quote unquote go ghost.
That is true.
And become a ghost for a
limited time,
like a limited amount of time. But going ghost is a very cool mechanic. Yes, I've seen it done before.
I've seen it done really well and really smartly, and it is really cool. Yes, there are undead mechanics and that you can choose when creating your character. To be either partly undead or even fully undead. You can just fully say that you are a ghost. Now,
right.
Moving on to one of my favorite. I mean, they're all my favorite. It's just a lot of the seas I really love, and a lot of the seas I call my favorite seas are places I saw in dreams before making them one of the 12 seas. The Sea of Forests I saw, the Sea of Honey I saw, the Sea of Stars I've seen in a dream before I even made Shuffle. This next one is an additional one I saw in a dream. This is the Sea of Glass. The Sea of Glass is always at nighttime. It is a flat plane. It has a clearly defined edge. In the Sea of Glass, the water is completely transparent. it is invisible. You cannot see the water, which means when you are on a boat, it looks like you are flying hundreds to thousands of feet up into the air. Now,
Awesome.
every living biological organism in the Sea of Glass is bioluminescent. It is also very brightly bioluminescent. Everything glows. So there is enough light to see and do things, but the light does not come from the sky. It comes from the ocean and the living things around you. Now, Sea of Glass kind of famously is the home sea to many people's favorite race, the Kanoko. The Kanoko are a race of mushroom people. They are fungal people. They cannot speak out loud. They do not have vocal cords. They can only communicate psychically. And that has led to, I think, a lot of people's favorite characters, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
even Ushka with her mind reading thing is amazing. But yes, all Kanoko have a base magical well, actually, it's not magical for Kanoko, it's a biological feature, but they do have a base psychic ability where they can communicate to anyone psychically.
Which has a very funny mechanic of, say, like a character has not the greatest intelligence.
Yes, that is true.
Or
that is true.
I think it's intelligence and wisdom. If they'd have it
It's intelligence.
low enough negatively, Kanoko can't communicate with
That is true.
them.
Kanoko cannot communicate with animals, and so mechanically there is a cutoff point where specifically Kanoko can communicate to anything with an intelligence of -3 or higher, and in character creation you can bring your intelligence down to -4, which means, and I've seen this twice in 2 separate campaigns, you can have a Kanoko not be able to communicate with another character because they're stupid enough, which is always funny. It's
Brilliant.
dare I say,
honestly.
only funny. You could probably have some angst, you could probably have some interesting character dynamics there, but it's been only used for comedy so far, and I'm glad it is, because I love it so much. Touching on some real quick things, everything glows in the Sea of Glass. Like I said, and the Sea of Glass has its own biology and its own fish and its own creatures and its own plant life and ocean life and animals and everything. The interesting thing about the ocean, though, is randomly, without any say, creatures will just spawn in. They're not, born from a creature. Creatures will just be created. Animals will just pop up out of the blue. And very often these animals that pop up out of the blue are animals from other seas. Animals that are not native to the Sea of Glass will appear. But because they are created in the Sea of Glass, they are bioluminescent and inherently magical. That's how you get yellow dolphins that can explode on command.
What?
This is just audio. I said that. I watched Jaiden very slowly lift the mic up to her mouth. The drama of it was amazing. So yes,
I was just thinking of maybe very pretty water dragon.
Oh, 100%. Yes. Ooh. Dragon,
clear glowing
dragon that just
water dragon.
Dragon that just spawns in the Sea of Glass. Why have I never thought of that before?
I know.
Still use the Sea of Ink? Ooh, putting
Good
that
thought.
in the back of my head, taking that, putting
Good
that
thought.
in the back of my head. That is gonna come up eventually.
Oh no.
That's so good. Unless you want to call dibs, if you ever DM in the 12 Mystic Seas, I'll give that to you.
This is true.
Maybe. I mean GM. Not DM. This isn't Dungeons and Dragons, I promise.
No.
I promise, guys, it's different. I swear. All right.
We're not in a dungeon. We're in a sea.
Yeah, come on.
Sea master.
Yeah, well, dealer is technically the term for the game master.
That's true. For shuffle.
Shuffle, you play with cards, it's the dealer, I understand a good theme.
Right.
The other thing with the Sea of Glass is that the edge of the Sea of Glass is very mysterious. There is a lot of mysteries there. A lot of people magically lose their memories. There's some very strong, powerful psychic creature at the edge that doesn't like to be seen.
Fair enough. Keep it private.
Absolutely.
Or explore it and lose it all.
The next sea is fun. It's fun. I like it more than anything else.
Is it fun? Is it fun?
It's the Sea of Cycles. Now this one goes into some
I have mixed feelings
deeper lore.
with the Sea of Cycles.
This goes into some really deep lore back to 100 years before present day 1392, when the Sea of Curses was created. Now, like I've said previously, seas are created and destroyed all the time. Not like it's rare to see one in a lifetime, but if you look at the grand timeline of this world, many seas have been created and destroyed. A lot of the catalyst of seas being created and destroyed, most of the catalyst of seas being created and destroyed, is the fact that there's always exactly 12 seas. What does this mean?
Always.
12 seas, meaning specifically 11, the Sea of Stars and 11 other seas that the Sea of Stars directly connects to. 100 years before the present day, Zara floods the Plain of Nightmares, creating the Sea of Curses. At the same time, there were already 12 seas when the Sea of Curses was created. Now, most of the time, one of these seas would be either destroyed, so just blown up, nuked, like what happened to the Sea of Blood, we'll get onto that, or a sea would be cut off, so you would not be able to travel to and from the sea through the ways. Both have happened before in the lore. This time, two separate seas, the Sea of Wine, which is the home plane of the Satyrs, and the Sea of Tears, which is the home plane of the Nandoi, the Moth people, merged into one sea, known as the Sea of Cycles. Now, the Sea of Cycles, you kind of have to treat as two separate seas. There is absolutely crossover because they are within the same plane, but all things considered. I'm going to start with the Sea of Wine. I mean, Jaiden, you clearly have thoughts.
I do have thoughts of the Sea of Cycles. Number one, I always forget about the Sea of Cycles. I always just think wine and tears because a lot of things happen in the Sea of Tears that are very crucial to a lot of things in our campaign. And the fact that the Sea of Cycles, and I always get the Sea of Cycles and winds confused, and I've written down the 12 seas from memory multiple times. And it's always cycles and winds that mess me up.
I normally forget sand just because we've never really played there before, but
it's true. Whatever.
Big things you know for the entire Sea of Cycles. The Sea of Tears and the Sea of Wine were flat plains beforehand. They were not on globes. As they merged, they were morphed to be a globe. Directly down the middle, the Sea of Wine is the Western Hemisphere, the Sea of Tears is the Eastern Hemisphere. There is a clear direct line. The seas do not mix, the waters stay separate. The Sea of Wine was always at daytime. The Sea of Tears was always at nighttime. The Sea of Tears very specifically having a moon that fills up a third of its night sky. Different moon, not me, the fictional moon.
Lit.
With the seas merging into one sea, and becoming a globe, they do have now a day-night cycle. Now, the interesting thing about this, though, as the sun from the Sea of Wine and the moon from the Sea of Tears orbit around this new planet, the seas move with them. Like the land and the water moves with them. Which means if you are just on the Sea of Wine and you're just standing on the land, it's not fast enough that you can tell that it's moving, but you will just be in constant daytime always, right? You will be only in the Sea of Wine. Same thing with the Sea of Tears. The interesting thing, though, is when you get on a boat and you drop an anchor down, if you're at the right coast, you can wait just a day and the other sea will come to you. You sound surprised.
I am surprised.
Did you not know that?
But that makes sense.
Yeah. So.
But also, that's a great way to get to the Sea of Tears.
Absolutely.
I'll put that in my back pocket.
Yes.
For later.
The Sea of Wine and the Sea of Tears are. They absolutely have their own cultures, their own people. The Sea of Wine has satyrs. The ocean is wine red, giving it its name. It's not actually wine. It has this tasteless fungi growing in the ocean that gives it its red look. Very importantly, this blocks out a lot of the UV rays from the sun. Because the Sea of Wine constantly has the sun beating down, the ocean would dry up. It would have no chance to be away. But because of this fungus, it is allowed to still exist and stay. There are a lot of gods here, very similarly to the Sea of Dragons. It is a very high divine sea. A lot of things happen. The other thing is that a lot of the creatures of the land are intelligent and they can speak, kind of in that mythological way, kind of that Aesop fable way, where most creatures you can have a conversation. The Sea of Wine has these very large, very alien-like plants that are very thick, very sturdy. They can resist the constant sunlight. Because the sun does not move, shadows created by these plants stay still. They stay in place. They don't shift around a lot. So there are Sea of Wine plants that can only grow in the darkness of these bigger plants. If you were to move one of these leaves and change the shade underneath, the plants in the shade would die instantly because they only have the shade, where the plants outside only have the sunlight. It is a very specific ecosystem that is very fun to play around with, where you have this full-grown plant that like may have this like large thick leaf that casts the shade. If you look at the shade underneath, there is a clear direct line between the sunlight grass and the shade grass, which is a lot of fun. It's always daytime. Oh, there's a lot of crime here. There is a mob family known as the Gilgamore family that controls a good majority of the Sea of Wine. Since the start of the Age of Piracy, there is an offshoot called the Vivaldi family, which you will hear more about in the main campaign, as we are starting in the Sea of Wine, and we have a character that is a member of the Vivaldi family. This conflict will come to light, so I don't want to spoil too much because it's really cool. The Sea of Tears, always at nighttime, they have the Nundoi, they have the Moth people. It's called the Sea of Tears because the moon is a very big thing. It's always there. It's a third of the sky. It's huge. Pieces of the moon break off, and they fall all the time, giving the illusion of the moon crying, aka why it's called the Sea of Tears. It's always nighttime. Light from the moon has made the whole sea give it has this ethereal silver look. Soul magic is kind of created by the Nondoi culturally, and there's a lot of soul magic here. A lot of their stuff deals with that. It's a very highly religious society. There's a lot of most of their cultures and countries and empires are ruled by the religious institute within that country. The Sea of Tears is an extremely old sea, just like the Sea of Dragons and the Sea of Darkness. The Sea of Tears has written history going back hundreds of thousands. Like, it has written history older than some of the other seas. The Nundoi are also known probably more than any of the other races, as it is a big cultural thing for Nondoi to send themselves out to other sea to work in other governments, to provide themselves as assistants and people to just help in other governments. This at first caused a lot of confusion and a lot of mistrust of like, hey, why do you want to work with the king so badly? But over time, Nondoi have been consistently good, like with no bad apples ruining this, that essentially every major governmental institution has a Nondoi somewhere near the top. Even monarchies do. I wanted to get through the CS cycles real quick. This is going on for a very long time. I love talking about this. I would hate to cut off any thoughts you have, Jaiden, about this.
It took me a second in my brain to figure out that if you do place an anchor in like the Sea of Wine,
yes,
you time it.
Yeah.
But if you place an anchor down, does all the land move?
The land
with the
moves
sea?
as well. The ocean and the lands move tidal locked with their celestial body.
So there is like a specific place you gotta go.
Yeah, there is a
to
place
in
you gotta
order
go.
to-
If you're on the wrong coast and you throw down your anchor, the land, like the Sea of Wine, is just gonna catch up with you and then just like push your boat. Yeah. So you do have to be on the right side.
Got it.
Because everything kind of goes with the flow of the rotation of the planet. In the Sea of Tear and the Sea of Wine, they essentially have a lot of Panama canals through the land, where a lot of people find it easier to just wait for the Sea of Tears to come with you than trying to sail against the rotation of the planet.
Right.
So yeah, that's that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then a lot of the funds for the Gilgamore family come because they own these canals through the continents, and they can heavily tax it.
Because why not?
Because why not?
I think that they should tax the specific spot to have it become the Sea of Tears. Why hasn't people done that?
They do.
Good.
Yeah.
Because that would be a business opportunity.
Oh, big thing. There are a lot of Nondoi that live full-time in the Sea of Wine, and there's a lot of satyrs that live full-time in the Sea of Tears. They have maintained respectfully their own cultures and ideals, but there is a lot of like there really isn't, and it took a lot of work and a lot of fighting to get this right, but the people in charge when the seas combined, went, okay, we have to give up a lot of stuff so then we don't all kill each other. So there was a few cultural things that were dropped to be like, hey, the last thing we want is a war between both of our peoples, because now we have to live each other. Let's just make the best of it.
They would be the first.
Yes.
And the only.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because people love fighting.
Very specifically, that was mostly the Gilgamore family, this crime family going like, all right, we're bad, we deal drugs, we do all this evil mob stuff, right? We can't do that if our, like, both these races go to war with each other and tear each other apart, right?
That's true.
So it was a lot of the Gilgamore family being like, all right, we're going to make sure everyone gets along so then we can maintain business the way we have.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing to be like, oh no, they're bad. They did this kind of good thing, but for bad reasons.
For bad purposes,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Next up, the one me and you always forget. I have ran one session in this sea overall. It has a lot of really cool lore. It is the Sea of Winds. The Sea of Winds is one of the first ones I made. It's just because of character creation and how campaigns have gone. I haven't played a lot in the Sea of Winds. The water in the Sea of Winds is essentially the opposite of the Sea of Honey. It is lighter than regular water. Travel through the Sea of Winds is incredibly quick. And unlike some of the other seas that get their names from specific details, the Sea of Winds should be named the Sea of Winds. It's really windy all the time. It is hard to go anywhere in the Sea of Winds without there being a wind pushing against you in any which way and in any which direction. Now, the Sea of Winds is not categorized, but the Sea of Winds is one of the newest seas to exist. It is the second newest sea, just behind the Sea of Curses. The Sea of Winds are home to the
bird people.
Yes, the bird people, the Pentato people, which mainly look like different tropical birds. So you can have any like face shape, any color, more humanoid. It's not just like a bird head on a human body, but still, it's kind of, so the bird people are from there. The water is thinner than regular water. It's also a lighter blue, and there's a lot of wind everywhere. The landmass is incredibly interesting because any island, any continent is sheer cliff face. Not sheer cliff face, but it's cliff for thousands of feet, and then the actual flatland is thousands of feet up in the air. Now, the
one we always forget. Then we just forget.
The one that got away. Goodness gracious. Patissa are bird people. They live on the side of these cliffs. Live in their own hanging societies, like hanging buildings off the side or mining into the side of these places. Patissa are a kind of an interesting case because they are the least magical race. They have the same potential for magic that everyone else does, but cultural things have led them to adopt a lot more technology in their stuff. And the main thing that leads them to adopt more technology are the giants of this world. The giants live on top of the land. Thousands of feet up when it becomes flat land, that's where the giants live. Sorry about that little interruption. We're in the middle of talking about the Sea of Winds. There are giants. Giants are master craftsmen. They are the best mechanics and creators in all the 12 seas. As they created the Patissa, they forged the bird race in their in their workshops. They are a fully biological race. They can, reproduce themselves now, but the first Patissa were made by the giants. The Sea of Winds is a prison. The entire dimension is a prison for a giant at the center. This giant is the first giant. He does not have a name that is known. Why he is there is unknown. He has 1,000 arms that are constantly pushing out, and he is slowly escaping from his prison at the center of the dimension. The fact that his arms are pushing out is the reason why all the land is just flat cliff face before you reach the top of the land. If you were in the Sea of Winds 150 years ago when it was first created, it would look like a regular dimension. But because this giant is slowly getting out, he has now pushed the land thousands of feet up in every direction across the globe.
Now, why he is there? Unknown.
Who knows?
What god put him there?
Yeah.
Don't know. Crimes? You decide, maybe.
I have my Headcanon. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to have a headcanon.
Maybe it's up to the people.
I mean,
I kind of want to name him Jack and have a little
Ooh.
goose, like
Oh,
pet
I love that.
that
Yeah.
like flies
like
around.
a goose familiar.
Yes, a goose familiar that flies around and like.
Wait, I want to
It's
play
like
that
his
Patissa now. I want to play a bird who like is like friends with giants. As the Patissa people have a very close relationship with the giants that live on top of the land they live on the side of. The giants build a lot of the tech and the materials for the Patissa people. But yeah, no, that is so much fun. As you've probably seen, there's a lot of mysteries. There's a lot of things up in the air in the 12 Mystic Seas, and that's absolutely on purpose. I don't want like a fully solidified world to give to people to run games in, because that's not, like, what are you gonna do? Like there's absolutely space for you to take the 12 Mystic Seas and for you to make it your own.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do with it. Use it as a tool to make your own stories. Throw away what you want. If you don't like the Sea of Honey, you can, you have bad taste, but you can delete it and make your own sea. You can do whatever you need to do, which I'm very excited to see how people take to the 12 Mystic Seas and what they try to do with it.
Right.
There is a major conflict going on in the Sea of Winds where there is a government known as the Armjai government. It is this empire that has plans to take over all 12 seas. They have some fairly advanced technology with real life stuff. They're about at World War I tech, which, if you look at the dates, is about 500 years further than the rest of the 12 seas.
All right. When did these bird people become this cool? I didn't know.
They've always been
You
cool.
didn't tell me.
The Patissa have always been cool and fun and interesting. The bird people, through the combined forces of all the other giants and all the other Patissa in the Sea of Winds, they have kind of kept the Armjai government at bay, even though it is an active conflict. A lot of mercenaries and pirates have chosen to fight the Armjai government. This kind of leads the Sea of Winds to have a much more relaxed opinion when it comes to pirates compared to all the other seas, because most people understand that pirates most likely are there to fight the Armjai government. The reason why a lot of pirates choose to is if they fight these people that have this crazy tech, they now have those weapons to go and use in other seas.
Right.
So it's a perfect symbiotic relationship in the world. Though, new advancements, maybe that's a campaign. I know I want to play a bird person eventually that has a little fighter jet.
Named Aerosmith. Sorry. Sorry.
The immediate apology.
It was a JoJo reference. I had to apologize.
Named Aerosmith. Sorry. I'm not there yet. No spoilers.
Sorry. Very cool stand, by the way.
Oh, got it.
Plus,
Speedwagon's still my favorite.
Right. Ooze was created by a bird person.
Yes.
Bird person's nightmare.
Ooze, your home game character. I actually do kind of love the idea of constantly referencing a home game people have no idea about. They're here to have us talk about the campaign that we put on the podcast. Be like, so isn't it crazy how Connor got a purple star? And like, people have no idea what we mean. That actually fills me with joy.
It means it's a deep personal cut.
Absolutely.
Is what it means.
So with the Sea of Winds, that is all 12 seas. But there are a few more things I want to bring up and talk about. There is the Sea of Blood. Sea of Blood is a minor sea. It is not one of the 12 seas. Sea of Blood isn't actually even its own dimension. The Sea of Blood is anywhere the Tamuses are. Tamuses are these giant island-sized hippos that the Pentato, the bug people in this world, live on the back of. Tamuses can create ways and travel to the Sea of Stars whenever they wish, and bring the cities and the people on their back. Pentato exist pretty much anywhere in the 12 seas, and you can find Pentato have kind of added themselves to any culture in any society. They really don't feel out of place anywhere. They're very knowledgeable about all seas, and if there is ever a conflict between two countries from two separate seas, that conflict is they will use Tamuses and use the Sea of Blood as a middle ground. In world, there is an agreement that's signed by every major country called the Treaty of the Seas. The Treaty of the Seas basically says if you have a conflict between two countries in one sea, you're not going to take that conflict to any other seas. That that treaty was proposed by the Pentado, was proposed by the bug people on the back of a Tammuz. And the meeting where every country sent a representative to sign the Treaty of the Seas was done on a Tammuz.
Very symbolic is what I meant.
Oh, 100%.
Very cool.
100%. With that, we have humans, elves, Shilpade, Petisa, Radon, Paniki, Gavito, Kanoko, Satyrs, Nondori, Curseborn, and Pentado for the 12 playable races. I did that on purpose. Real quick before we end, I do want to touch on the mainland. The mainland is technically one of the minor seas. Humans come from here. It's not one of the 12 seas. It's harder to go to and to leave. It's used by people in the 12 seas to remove themselves from the culture of the 12 seas. It can't reach the Sea of Stars, and ways to the 12 seas only appear in one ocean in the mainland, which is another reason why it's not considered one of the 12 mystic seas. In the 12 seas, if a body of water is big enough, a way can appear. If you built a pool big enough, a way could appear.
Didn't we
to
cover
another
this?
ocean. That's not the case in the mainland. We talked about this before we started recording.
Was that true?
We talked about the mainland. Yes.
All right. I was like, this sounds...
Jaiden, we've been
I
talking
feel
for
like
2
this
hours
is very familiar.
longer, actually. Okay, well, Jaiden, you have about
All
10
right.
minutes.
And I will take it. Speaking
Oh, please do.
it's now the note taker's time to speak about some little fun things about some seas and some things. First of all, you know that wonderful treaty that we just talked about? Yeah.
Yes.
Cool, right? So there is an empire who maintains a place in multiple seas called the Magnus.
There are multiple
Yes.
empires that do that, but the Magnus Empire is the biggest
Empire is ideally the most important. They take up space in the Sea of Tears, the Sea of Honey, the Sea of Sand, and the Sea of Forests.
And the Sea of Dragons.
Part of the Sea of Dragons. They are... I can describe their flag, but I don't want to. I want it to leave up to the imagination of what the Magnus Empire is. To be honest, the Magnus Empire is very scary, at least to me, because they have... This is very subjective at this point. But
Of course.
Magnus
Of
Empire
course.
is one of the main bad guys that is in-world and you can fight. They maintain places in multiple seas.
Yep.
And they're generally known as the bad guys in air quotes. But they are just involved in a lot of schemes and a lot of projects that are not very humane, to say the least.
Yeah.
They are involved
Uh,
in another sort called the Two Mind Collective. The Two Mind Collective is a very secret organization occupying the Sea of Tears. And their base
Their
is
base
in the Sea of Tears.
Tears. They don't rule the Sea of Tears.
They are part of a certain experimental project, mainly with stars, star bearers, and putting multiple stars onto one star bearer. They created a certain individual called the Angel of Judgment, which was their first attempt at creating a star bearer with 7 stars. Originally 8. I knew that was wrong.
Well, actually, in the book, it would be 8. Jaiden, when you joined, it was 7 because at that point, Ivanushka had gotten amnesia.
But Angel of Judgment...
Amnesia
Yes.
being the name of the star.
Angel of Judgment, 8 stars, was their first attempt at creating a star bearer to be under the control of the Two Mind Collective. However, the Angel of Judgment broke away and has become more of a rebel for the rebel cause. And that is pretty much
true.
all I'm going to leave with the Two Mind Collective. There is quite a bit more about them, but
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
I'm just going to leave it there. to be honest, because there is a lot to explore with the Two Mind Collective that I feel that if we leave it to the public, I think they could come up with some very great and interesting things.
Oh yes. Oh
Um,
yes.
I also wanted to touch on two main points of communication called the Pony Express and
Ooh,
snail
yes,
mail.
Yes.
Snail mail.
Snail mail.
I'll touch on snail mail first. Snail mail is
Snail mail is
he
my
is
best
everyone's best friend. Snail mail is any time that you would like to send a letter, a snail
Yes.
will appear, talk to you, and
Yep.
he will
Hmm.
send your letter. Snail mail can travel
Yes, he will.
through all seas. Every sea. It just takes a little bit longer than other
He's a
forms
snail.
of communication, which is the Pony Express. The Pony Express are a very secretive group of individuals. They take their job very seriously. There are Pony Express posts in the middle of seas, on most islands, some islands in many seas, and basically you can send a letter, and it will be a individual in a black cloak, could be any race, very unknown, on a kind of how I'm going to describe as a horse made completely of translucent water. And that person will get on and take your letter to the fastest point to get to the sea that you want to deliver your letter to.
The horse does run
the
on
horse is water. And
Yes.
It runs on water. And it's translucent, so it can change to whatever water is of that sea, which is very
Interesting.
fun.
That's new. I'm not saying no. I like
I
it.
would just like to see a honey horse. A
Me
honey
too,
horse
actually. That
would
sounds
be very cool
amazing.
and very cool.
I think the big difference between speed is also the fact that snail mail only takes letters, where Pony Express can deliver
As well,
packages
yes.
as well. Yes.
Other than that, there is something I wanted to mention in the Sea of Dragons, which is Xantroth's Gate, which was mentioned briefly in one of the home campaign, and I just wanted to touch on it
Yes.
slightly, as Xantroth's Gate is kind of, in my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, kind of like a little capital, if you may, for dragons and different lizard people to kind of just worship. And there's a mayor there who
Yes.
is called the mayor is called Cadmus, and
Yes.
he kind of runs Xantroth's Gate, and some dragon eggs went missing. 3 of them in particular.
That is true.
That he's trying to get back.
That is a possible plot point.
And that is pretty much all I wanted to touch on Xantroth's Gate, but there is so much to explore with these seas.
There is so much. Everything Jaiden has said is stuff that's happened in the home campaign. I don't think I'm really going to touch on most of those in the podcast, just because we've done it already. I mean, they'll exist in the background. Like, you could absolutely run into the Magnus Empire, or if one of you takes the star, you'll probably be contacted by the Two Mind Collective. But it's the world is always bigger than the characters think it is, and there's always stuff going on everywhere. But yeah, no, just like a bunch of absolute plot points, just stuff that's come up.
But I did think the mechanics of the Pony Express, snail mail were...
Yes. People
if they
need
wanna
to
send
know.
letters.
People need to know. Absolutely, absolutely. Snail mail's great. I like playing him. You know, he's like, "Hey, what's up? It's me. It's Snail Mail. What's going on?" Kind of nasally.
He is a
it's fun.
king among kings.
Snail mail is my character in world. Like, DMs will have like a DM NPC, but also people that write like D&D worlds or like fantasy worlds for people to play in. They will have like a self-insert NPC.
Right.
Snail mail is mine. I want to clarify. I feel a kinship with snail mail. I don't feel with anybody else.
None of the
And
NPCs you've ever played.
None of them.
Just
Nope.
snail mail.
No. Just snail mail. Icy Hot is a close second, but snail mail is Snail mail is there. And I think with that, we are reaching the end of this
Of
episode. Well, thank you so
course.
much for doing this with
Yeah.
me, Jaiden Weed. Please, we have a Discord. If any of you would like to join, it has the big rule document. It has the mechanics document to actually play the shuffle system. Any updates I have to either of them will be on the Discord. New episodes will be talked about on the Discord. We'll have a live discussion feature there. Every member of any campaign we put on this podcast will be on the Discord. If you want to talk to them, reach out. Don't be weird.
We'll be here to
About it,
answer any
but,
questions you
like-
might have about any
Yes.
campaign that you're writing or any ideas that you
100%.
have. But honestly, stories are yours.
And stories are yours at the end of the day. This is just a tool for you to use. The program we're using to record this is going to shut me off really soon. So I just want to say thank you so much. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you for sticking for this 2 hours with us to have us talk about this world. And just remember, I don't have an outro yet.
Oh,
We're too
no.
new to this. Oh no.
Shuffle on.
Shuffle. Nope. I was
Are
gonna
you
say shuffle on too.
serious?
I hate it
Oh.
so much. I was gonna say shuffle on. Shuffle on.
Oh, God.
Ugh.
Well, thank you,
No,
guys.
Terrible. We'll see you in the Sea of Stars. Goodbye.